Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Finance Standards Guide for LCVPs. In contrast to the session that I already had for the LCVPs Finance, I will keep it a bit more basic in here, so you can also understand what the finance standards are and why they are important. So to start off, the finance standards, and we'll be looking into the evolved finance standards directly, are created because we realized that it is very difficult to keep a sustainable and legal organization across the whole globe. And the finance standards checklist is created to make sure that every entity does the minimum that they need to do in order for us to be legal and sustainable. And that means it encompasses a couple of different standards, which cover the legal and the financial aspect. So why did we do this? I shortly explained already. It's not just for us to be 100% financially sustainable and legal, but also so we can do better analysis across different realities. So to continue, there are 6 finance standards. First one, legality, accounting, reporting, budgeting, auditing, and sustainability. So in the next couple of minutes, I will quickly go over all of them. I will not go into depth because of all the standards, but I will explain what it means and why this one is important. If you want a more in-depth explanation, you can ask your LCVP Finance, or of course, contact me. But let's go. So to place them, first of all, on a timeline, in different years, they wanted to implement the full finance standards until ISAC 2020. But the first thing that they started with is legalities. This is because your entity must be legal for you to operate and not get into issues with the government or other institutions. Second thing was budgeting, accounting, and reporting. So we have an aligned framework in which we do our accounting basically and report on it. And this is also necessary for an entity to stay legal, because every entity in the world must do accounting and budgeting and reporting. So this also means that they're very much interlinked. Next point is auditing. So next to the fact that we want to implement these 3 different ways of showing how we're doing financially and recording all the data, we also need people to check whether this data is actually correct. And therefore the auditing standard was brought into place. And lastly, sustainability. So sustainability is not just something that you build in 1 year, but we must make sure that all the things that we're doing in our organization are enabling us to grow and not to die. And furthermore, it's even more important that every product itself should be sustainable, because if because of legal issues you cannot run it anymore, you should still be able to stay alive as an organization. So to start off with legality, so what does it mean to be legal? That you operate according to the national law, that you operate according to the global compendium that is created, that you have an internal governance system, which means that you have internal accountability system with people who are responsible for leading the entity and have the decision-making power, and to make sure that we also have external legal advice, because well, we're young people, we're often not experts in the legal field, therefore we must be sure that nothing bad will happen to us in that sense. So why is it very important for us to be legal? It is of utmost importance to us because this can seriously harm the people who are working in the entity. If you are not legal according to your national law, it means that people could get arrested, or if you have the wrong organizational name, so let's say like the organization, the kind of organization that you are, then people can get huge fines. So legal was the very basis of the finance standards, and we've been working hard on implementing this, for example, also with the GDPR implementation. So it means that everything that we're doing is correct according to our internal and the external law. So I will not go into all of these, but you can quickly scan through them and see what kind of things are in there. It shows you also like what does it exactly mean. but this is not important for this moment. Second point is accounting. So accounting means that you are, no, let me say that differently. For example, in OGX and ICX, we calculate the numbers of opens, we calculate the numbers of accepted, approved, realization, finished, completed. But often it means that there's something that will follow up from it. And that is basically what finance does in accounting. So everything that is being put into financial numbers in terms of our products or our costs, we record it in our accounting software. And that is where we have the complete overview of how the organization is doing financially. It also means that we show how many profit we made in a certain time period, or what kind of loss we made in a certain time period. And it shows how our organization is doing at a specific moment in time, what the resources are, etc., etc. The importance of this one to have a good accounting software is because care of how we are in the financial aspect, then how can we know how we're doing as an organization overall? Because imagine that you would be giving exchanges away for free, then you can have super high impact because you're doing a lot of exchanges, but in the end your organization will die within a couple of months. So that is why we do accounting. We do accounting to keep track of all the things that we're doing on a financial basis. So the things that you can see here, again, I will not go into depth, but it explains a little bit more on what do the accounting standards specifically mean. Yes. Then reporting. The reporting standard was created because we wanted to have an aligned way of showing to other entities how we are doing financial, because even though we may have our accounting software, it takes a shit ton of time to go through all the different accounting softwares globally. That we are just creating reports, we're sending them to the necessary entities or institutions, and we will explain a little bit more in depth why things happened the way they happened. So I quickly already explained just now why reporting is important, but it's very important for us to keep an account to each other. Again, I will not go more into depth. Budgeting. And budgeting is basically the numerical translation of your year plan. Because, of course, we plan for exchanges, but if we do not know or do not understand how that impacts our organization in a specific term, then you also do not really know which direction you are going to. So the budget is the numerical translation of our action plan. And the importance of this is that we know, or we can at least predict to some extent, what the state of our organization will be at the end of the year. Yes, that's basically budgeting. Your LCVP finance will, of course, present you with the budget on a quarterly basis, as like with the rebudgeted budget, but also monthly realized budget in the EBM, because they need to have this reporting accountability system towards the EB and their local planner. Again, not going too much into depth, but you can read what it says here. Because even though auditing is basically the process of systematic examination and verification books of accounts, transaction records, other relevant documents, and physical inspection of inventory by auditors. It basically means that there's a group of people checking whether the things that you're putting in your accounting system are correct, the things that you're reporting on are actually valid, and it's basically a checkpoint, because it has happened a lot in ISAC that an LCVP finance has abused the local account, and as an organization, we want to make sure that this does not happen. So it's all about transparency. Normally, your auditors are people who have had a financial role before and understand how everything looks like and how the processes work. so that they can also make proper recommendations for the VP Finance and LCVP Finance. Again, not going through it too much. Oh, maybe an interesting point here is that from the 1st of February, we will also start running legal audits, and these legal audits are there to make sure that we are also following GDPR rules. Cool. I'm going to the last point, which is sustainability, and sustainability is a tricky one. What it specifically means, but basically it is created because as an organization, we need to make sure that we are always thinking about future generations. And for Isaac to still be accessible to these future generations, we implemented some sustainability standards. Now, these sustainability standards are built among a couple of different things, and I'm going to try to keep it simple. So first of all, in this one, it will be measured whether your organization is actually making more money than it is losing money, so that you are sustainable towards the future. Then it goes a little bit more in depth, and it also measures whether your organization is making more money from the exchange, losing the when ability state, you're actually doing very well. And then the last thing that we can put in here is even, are you able with the products that you're running, the specific products, to cover all these costs? So that if, take for example, IGE would fall away from the organization, are you still able to pay all the costs with your other products? Because we don't want to run the risk of not being able to have certain exchange products anymore and having to close our organization because all our money was coming from there. That's basically what the sustainability standard means. And well, the reason why it is important is because we don't want the organization to only be available for a limited time. We want to be there until we can engage and develop every young person in the world. So therefore, it is important that we focus on the sustainability of our organization. So here you can see all the different points. If you want to understand better what level 2 means, you can talk to me or your LCVP Finance, and they can explain to you what it means to be sustainable level 2. Well, here it's explained as well. I'm quickly going through it, but I will not explain in depth. So entity sustainability, you can see the explanation there in formula. Product sustainability. The thing that it says here is profit of product, but that's not completely true. It's income of product. It needs to be higher than direct and indirect costs. So HR sustainability and some other financial indicators. Risk management, which is linked to the legal one again. And that is it. So thank you for watching the sustainability episode of LCVP Academy, the Finance Standards episode of LCVP Academy. I hope you understand what it all means. And as a question, I would like to ask you to fill in the form again. Why is it important for an entity to be sustainable, and what does it mean to be sustainable? Thank you very much. A great day, and hope to see you soon.